So the argument I believe that you have to make if you're going to support democratic peace theory, the main argument you have to make is that liberal democracies have a healthy respect for each other, and they can assess each other's intentions. If you're a liberal democracy and I'm a liberal democracy, we know we have value systems that argue against aggression and argue for peaceful resolution of crises. And therefore, given these norms, we can trust each other. We can know each other's intentions. Remember, for realists like me, uncertainty about intentions really helps drive the train. But if you're talking about two democracies, right, the argument there is that they know each other's intentions.
And for you, sure, maybe democracies reduce uncertainty a little bit, but not enough to stop the train.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. So that's democratic peace theory.
Yes.
The second theory is economic interdependence theory. And that's the argument that in a globalized world like the one that we live in and have lived in for a long time, there's a great deal of economic interdependence. And if you and I are two countries, or if you and me are two countries and we're economically interdependent and we're both getting prosperous as a result of this economic intercourse, the last thing that we're going to do is start a war, either one of us, because who would kill the goose that lays the golden eggs? It's that kind of argument. So there you have an argument that economic interdependence leads to peace. And then the third liberal argument has to do with institutions. Sometimes referred to as liberal institutionalism. And this is the argument that if you can get states into institutions where they become rule-abiding actors, they will obey the rules that dictate that war is not acceptable. So if you get them to accept the UN rules on when you can and cannot initiate a war, then you'll have a more peaceful world. So those are the liberal theories. And as you can tell, they're very different from realism as articulated by somebody like me.
Can you maybe argue against the economic interdependence and in the institutions, that institutions follow rules a little bit? So the golden goose with the golden egg, you're saying that nations are happy to kill the goose because, again, they want power.
If they think it's necessary to kill the golden goose because of security concerns, they will do it. The point is that economic interdependence, at its root, has prosperity as the core variable. In the realist story, the core variable is survival. And survival always trumps prosperity. So if you go back to the period before World War I, we're in Europe, it's 1913 or early 1914. What you see is that you have an intense security competition between all of the great powers. On one side, you have the Triple Alliance, and on the other side, you have the Triple Entente. You have these two alliances, and you have an intense security competition between them, okay? At the same time, you have a great deal of economic interdependence. It's amazing how much economic intercourse is taking place in Europe among all the actors, right? And people are getting prosperous, or countries are getting prosperous as a result. But nevertheless, in the famous July crisis of 1914, this economic prosperity is unable to prevent World War I because security concerns or survival is more important. So there are, going to be lots of situations where prosperity and survival come into conflict, and in those cases, survival will win.
And maybe you could speak to the different camps of realists. You said offensive and defensive. Can you draw a distinction between those two?
Yeah. Let me just back up a bit on that one. And you were talking about will to power before. The first big divide between realists is structural realists and